Hello, 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 everybody. Thank you for joining me. We're looking at question number 19 on the Gauss paper, the grade 8 Gauss paper from the year 2006. Bethany, Chun, Dominique, and Emily go to the movies. They choose a row with 4 consecutive empty seats. If Dominique and Emily must sit next to each other, in how many different ways can the 4 friends sit? Is it Dominique or Dominic? I'm sure, depending on regional accent, I don't usually see a lot of names. I guess like Eric, Dominic. It doesn't seem to roll off the tongue. I always have problems with names. But the nice thing about this is they've given us names that each have a different letter to start off with, so a great way to shorten our work is to just start referring to the friends as B, C, D, and E. Okay? Now we've got 4 empty seats, and we know Dominique and Eric must sit together. So I'm going to show you probably the way that a lot of people approach this one, but and then I'm going to show you the way that we approach this in a finite math course at university. It's not harder to understand particularly, and maybe it'll shed some light on more counting problems you have in the future. But I just like that there's a question on the grade 8 math contest that students in first year university have to regularly grapple with. You guys can probably get it, but about half of the finite math students I know have a lot of trouble with a question like this. So let's go through it the basic way. So the basic way, I would probably want to list out all possibilities. Okay, well, hey, here's a great one, B, C, D, E. I'm going to keep my list over here, actually. B, C, D, E. Okay, now Dominique and Eric, here, they're sitting together. Now I could very quickly actually write down all possible ways that these guys can sit together. But you'll notice as I'm writing out some of these, Dominique and Eric aren't always sitting together. So you could probably try and do, okay, B, C, D, E, they're sitting together. Okay, D, E, C, B, they're sitting together. E, D, B, C, they're sitting together. But if you don't have a pattern, you're going to run into a lot of trouble, and you might miss one. Now let's take a look at the answers. Okay, some of the answers are close together. Okay, if you hit 12 and you got a 13th, of course your answer is 30. But maybe I can only figure out 5, but that's because I'm not being organized, and the answer is actually 6. Or maybe I've accidentally counted 1 extra. So one thing to do is to have a general pattern. So I sort of write them out like I would with binary numbers or things like that. I'm mostly just moving along and then incrementing. So my D goes up to an E, and then the D is left over here. Then I do all the ones where the second one is D. Okay, and we slowly increment it that way. Now we got B, E, and we'll put C, D, keeping them in order for the most part. Okay, there's going to be 24 of these, and we can write them all out. And that will be done very methodically. You will not miss one as long as you have a method. And once you have them all written out nice and neat and methodically, well, this one should be BE, and the next one should be EB. Once you have them written out, I imagine a lot of people actually sort of did the hodgepodge, I'll just write this one down, it works, this one down, it works, and start counting them that way. But if you just write down all 24 possible ways these guys can sit together, and actually if you realize that there's 24 ways they can sit together, you know D30 is not going to be a proper answer at all. Why are there going to be 24? Well, there's 4 choices for who sits first, 3 choices for who sits second, 2 choices for who sits next, and the last person is sort of stuck like that. Anyway, let's continue writing these out. D, B. So now I've done all the ones that start with C, all the ones that start with B. How about D, B, C, E, D, B, E, C, D, C, B, E, D, C, E, B. Why am I bothering to write down all of them when some of them clearly aren't going to work for our purposes? Well, The reason I'm writing them all out is so I know I haven't missed one. Okay. What I'm going to do at the end is then say, okay, does this one have D and E next to each other? Oh, it does? Okay, it counts as part of my list. Does it have, and this one over here, does this one work? Well, no, it has them not in any way close to each other. So I won't count it. So you can write them all out and then go through and say, well, yep, they're here together, here together. This one, no. This one, no. Yeah, they're here together, 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 together. No, 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 no. Yes, yes. No, 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 no. Yes, yes. Okay, and we can count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, and we get our answer at 12 that way. Okay, so our answer would be C. So that's sort of the slow way, but it would work. Okay, you find a pattern, you find a way to write them all out, and from there, you having listed them all out, you know there's not that many because again, we can do the calculation. There's 4 different ways to choose the first person, times 3 different ways to choose the next person once the first person's chosen. And so on, you'll get 24. Okay, and you can count. We did get 24 here. But it takes a little while, but then at the end, you just circle the ones you like. Okay, this wouldn't work well if we had 8 friends, because you'd have 40,320 different things to write out. So let's talk about it a different way, sort of a conceptual way. Now, if I'm seating my friends, as I've already said, I got 4 spots. I got 4 choices for who sits first, B, C, D, or E. That's my first pick. Once I've chosen something like C, I've only got 3 letters left. Now, even if I don't choose C, I choose B first, I still have 3 people left for the next seat, and so on. Okay. So this is a great way to great sort of strategy for counting up how many different possibilities there are. But I know D and E have to sit together. Now, it doesn't have to be DE. It could be ED. So there's 2 ways to form, I tend to call it like a super person, or the person blob, DE. Dominemally, you could even call them. Okay? They're going to sit together, but it could either be DE or ED. So that's 2 choices we have. Okay? Once I have my blob person, so I've got Bethany, Chun, and Dominemally. It's a 2-person thing, but I treat them together as one object because I'm not going to split them up. Okay? I can move them around, but I'm never going to split them up. So now I say, okay, I've got 3 people to sit. 2 regular people and then my blob monstrosity person. There's 3 seats, because Dominemally, wherever I put them, is going to just be the middle 2 seats or the 2 seats at the end. So there's 3 choices for my first person, 2 for my next person, and 1 for the remaining person. So maybe it goes Bethany, Dominemally, and then Chun. So this is 6, 3 times 2 times 1 is 6 different ways to arrange them, and 2 choices for which way Dominemally is oriented. Is it Dominic then Emily, or is it Emily then Dominic? Okay. So 6 choices for seating. 2 choices for how these 2 are arranged together. 2 times 6 is 12. Okay. So this is the other way I like to view, and this is how I instruct my students to view it when it's a finite math course. Treat them as sort of a blob monstrosity. We know they've got to be together, so put them together. Count the number of ways we can put them together, and then treat them as a single person to be arranged, single object to be put in a certain place. Okay? But either way, we get C12. Okay? So there we go. That wasn't so bad. two different ways to do this question. The long listy way that is still exact, as long as you practice writing out ordered lists in an orderly fashion. Don't just think of one and say, yep, oh, that probably works. You might end up with too many or too few. You might miss one. Or then there's the conceptual blob person seating arrangement way. And that's my preferred way to do this question. But it's grade 8, so you can get a mix of both ways. Okay, so up next is question 20, and that'll finish off part B, and then we'll be looking ahead to part C, where the questions are worth just a little bit more.